Let me start with a simple question. If this year also passes like the previous one, same habits, same excuses, same regrets, how will you feel about yourself next year? Stay with me till the end because the last two lessons are not just important, they can completely change the direction of your life. Many of us begin the year with excitement, new plans, new resolutions, new hopes, but slowly life happens, deadlines replace dreams, fear replaces courage, comfort replaces growth, and somewhere inside a quiet voice asks, am I really becoming better or just getting older? If you feel confused, pressured, or slightly lost, you are not weak, you are human. Today I want to walk with you through 7 inner improvements, not superficial changes, but deep, conscious upgrades, the kind that shape your destiny. Most of us wake up every morning not truly awake, but merely conscious enough to move through routines. Brushing, scrolling, rushing, reacting, like a leaf carried by the current of yesterday's habits. And this is why the first and most important improvement you must make this year is awareness. Because awareness is the light that turns living into life. Imagine driving a powerful car at night with the headlights off. The engine is strong, the fuel is full, but one unseen turn can change everything. In the same way, intelligence without awareness becomes dangerous, ambition without awareness becomes exhausting, and success without awareness becomes hollow. Awareness means noticing not just what you do, but why you do it. Not just what you feel, but from where that feeling arises. When someone speaks harshly to you and anger rises, awareness gently whispers, pause. This anger is a visitor, not your identity. When fear tightens your chest before a decision, awareness reminds you, this fear is old memory speaking, not present truth. Without awareness, we spill our inner tea and blame the cup, the traffic, the boss, the family, the economy, never realizing that the hand holding the cup was trembling. I once met a man who said, everyone makes me angry, and I asked him softly, then who is holding the remote control of your emotions? Awareness hands that remote back to you. It allows you to step back and observe your thoughts like clouds drifting across the sky, some dark, some bright, all temporary. And in that observation, suffering begins to loosen its grip. Spiritual traditions across the world agree on one thing: transformation does not begin by changing the world, it begins by seeing yourself clearly. Awareness is that seeing. It is the difference between eating food and tasting food, between hearing words and understanding meaning, between breathing and feeling grateful for breath. When you are aware, even silence speaks to you, even pain teaches you, even failure becomes a messenger rather than a punishment. This year, instead of asking, how do I control my life? Ask, how do I observe my life? Because control creates tension, but observation creates wisdom. Start small. Notice how you speak when tired, how you judge when insecure, how you escape when uncomfortable. These are not reasons for guilt, they are invitations for growth. Awareness is compassionate, not cruel. It doesn't shout, you are wrong. It smiles and says, look again. And here is the mystical secret. The moment you see a pattern clearly, it already begins to dissolve, just as darkness disappears not by fighting it, but by turning on the light. Many people wait for motivation, but awareness is deeper than motivation. It is remembrance, remembrance of who you are beneath fear, beneath conditioning, beneath borrowed expectations. When awareness deepens, patience increases, reactions slow down, and life feels less like a battlefield and more like a classroom. You begin to understand that not every thought deserves belief, not every emotion deserves action, and not every opinion deserves your peace. If you feel this point touching something deep inside you, stay with me, because the lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. Awareness is the soil in which all other improvements grow. Without it, discipline becomes punishment, success becomes ego, and spirituality becomes performance. With it, even ordinary moments turn sacred, washing dishes becomes meditation, waiting becomes training, silence becomes prayer. And here's the retention secret most people miss. Awareness is not a one-time realization, it is a daily practice, a gentle returning, again and again, to the present moment. If you think this lesson is powerful, don't drift away. The next steps will show you how awareness transforms discipline, relationships, and purpose in ways you never imagined. Remain present, remain curious, remain open, because the journey has only just begun and the most life-changing realizations are still waiting ahead. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment, as restriction, as a rigid cage around freedom. But in truth, discipline is devotion. Devotion to the future version of yourself who is silently depending on the choices you make today. Think of a river. Without banks, it becomes a flood, destroying everything in its path. With banks, it gains direction, depth, and the power to nourish entire civilizations. Your life force is that river, and discipline is what gives it sacred direction. Many people say, I don't feel motivated, but discipline was never meant to wait for motivation. Discipline is what creates motivation. A farmer does not wait to feel inspired before planting seeds. He knows the seasons will not pause for his moods. In the same way, disciplined action honors time, because time respects only those who show up consistently. Every morning you wake up, life hands you a quiet question. Will you live today by impulse or by intention? Discipline is the answer whispered through action. It is choosing to sit with discomfort a little longer instead of escaping. Choosing to keep a promise to yourself even when no one is watching. Choosing the long-term peace over short-term pleasure. Spiritually speaking, discipline is not about forcing the mind. It is about training the mind gently, like teaching a child to walk, falling and rising without shame. Consider how a musician practices scales endlessly, not because scales are exciting, but because mastery is born in repetition. Similarly, your character is sculpted not in dramatic moments, but in small, boring, unseen decisions. When you wake up on time, when you finish what you start, when you say no to distractions that drain your soul, you are telling the universe, I respect the life given to me. Discipline builds inner trust. And once you trust yourself, confidence no longer needs validation from the world. Many people chase freedom by avoiding discipline. But paradoxically, discipline is what liberates you. An undisciplined mind becomes a slave to cravings, moods, and external noise, while a disciplined mind becomes still, sharp, and sovereign. This year, do not ask, what do I feel like doing today? Because feelings are like weather, unpredictable and temporary. Ask instead, what does my future self need from me today? Because destiny is built on obedience to values, not emotions. Discipline is prayer in action. It is faith expressed through consistency. Even on days when progress feels invisible, discipline teaches you to bow before effort, not outcome. And here is the mystical truth. Few realize when discipline deepens, resistance weakens, what once felt heavy becomes natural, and what once required force begins to flow. If you are feeling challenged by this idea, stay with me. The lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. Remember, discipline is not about perfection. It is about returning. Returning to the path after distraction, returning to purpose after fatigue, returning to commitment after doubt. Every return strengthens the soul. Think of discipline as lighting a small lamp each day. One lamp may seem insignificant, but over time, the darkness no longer feels so vast. If this resonates with you, don't drift away, because the next lessons will reveal how discipline transforms relationships, emotional strength, and purpose in ways that feel almost miraculous. Stay present, stay steady, and keep walking. Because discipline is not a burden you carry, it is the bridge that carries you toward the life you are meant to live. The people you surround yourself with are not just companions in conversation. They are silent sculptors of your inner world, shaping your thoughts, your courage, your fears, and even the dreams you believe are possible. Company works like fragrance. You may not see it, but slowly, inevitably, it clings to you. Sit near fire and you feel warmth. Sit near smoke and even clean clothes begin to smell. This is why improving your company is not about judging others, but about protecting your becoming. Many lives do not fail because of lack of talent or effort, but because of constant exposure to voices that normalize doubt, complain about everything, and quietly poison hope. You may begin with clarity, but repeated exposure to negativity blurs vision, just as dust slowly clouds a mirror. Spiritually speaking, the mind is impressionable soil. Whatever seeds are dropped repeatedly will grow. When conversations revolve only around blame, fear, shortcuts, and cynicism, the soul slowly forgets its higher language. I once met a young man with immense potential who said, "I don't know why I feel unmotivated," and after listening carefully, I realized his daily diet was not food, but pessimism. Pessimistic jokes, pessimistic friends, pessimistic assumptions. How could optimism survive there? Company does not need to command you to influence you, it only needs to repeat itself. This year, ask yourself gently, after meeting certain people, do I feel lighter or heavier, expanded or contracted, inspired or drained? This awareness is not selfish, it is sacred self-respect. Choose people who remind you of your values when you forget them, who challenge you to grow instead of comforting you in stagnation, who speak of possibilities instead of limitations. And here is a deeper truth. Sometimes the most important improvement in company is learning to enjoy your own presence. Many people fear solitude because silence reveals truths noise can hide. But when you sit with yourself consciously, you begin to hear intuition instead of influence. Solitude, when chosen wisely, becomes a monastery where clarity is restored. Spiritually mature people are careful about company not because they are superior, but because they are sensitive. Sensitive to energy, intention, and direction. A single sentence spoken at the wrong moment can undo weeks of discipline. A single encouraging word spoken at the right moment can save years of confusion. This is why ancient wisdom emphasized satsang, the company of truth, because truth grows faster when it is shared. If you feel resistance while hearing this, pause and stay with me. The lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. Improving your company does not always mean cutting people off. Sometimes it means changing the depth of access they have to your inner world. Everyone does not need a front row seat to your thoughts, your plans, your vulnerabilities. Boundaries are not walls, they are sacred gates. As your awareness sharpens and your discipline strengthens, your company must evolve too. Otherwise, you will feel torn between who you are becoming and who you are expected to remain. Growth often feels lonely before it feels liberating, but remember, the eagle does not fly with sparrows, not out of arrogance, but because its wings are built for different heights. If this lesson feels uncomfortable, don't turn away. Discomfort is often the soul stretching beyond familiar limits. Stay present because the next lessons will show you how emotional strength, gratitude, and responsibility become easier when your environment supports your evolution. Protect your company and you protect your destiny because who walks beside you today quietly decides where you will stand tomorrow. Emotional strength is not the absence of feeling, it is the art of holding your feelings without letting them hold you hostage. Life will not ask for permission before testing you. It will send criticism when you are already tired, rejection when you are already unsure, silence when you are already lonely. And in those moments, emotional strength becomes the unseen armor that determines whether you break inwardly or bend gracefully. Imagine the ocean. On the surface, waves rise and crash in chaos, but deep below there is stillness untouched by storms. Most people live on the surface of their emotions, reacting to every wave, exhausted by every tide. Emotional strength is learning to live deeper, where awareness replaces panic and response replaces reaction. When anger rises, the weak mind shouts, the strong mind pauses. When disappointment arrives, the fragile heart collapses, the resilient heart listens. This strength is not built in moments of comfort, but in moments of restraint, when you want to retaliate but choose silence, when you want to escape but choose presence, when you want to blame but choose responsibility. Spiritually speaking, emotional strength is surrender. Not surrender to circumstances, but surrender to wisdom. It is understanding that not every battle deserves your energy, not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every emotion deserves expression. I once heard someone say, "I am very emotional," as if it were an excuse, but emotions are not the problem, untrained emotions are. Just as fire can cook food or burn a house, emotions can heal or harm depending on who is holding the flame. This year, train your emotions with patience and compassion. Notice how often hurt disguises itself as anger, how fear disguises itself as control, how insecurity disguises itself as pride. Emotional strength allows you to see beneath the mask and respond to the real need within yourself and within others. When you grow emotionally strong, insults lose their poison, delays lose their power, and setbacks lose their identity as failures. You begin to understand that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. This realization alone can free years of trapped energy. Emotional strength also teaches you the courage to feel fully without drowning, to grieve without losing faith, to love without fear of loss, to hope without guarantees. It whispers a quiet truth: you are bigger than what you feel right now. If this lesson is stirring something inside you, don't drift away. The lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. Here is the mystical paradox: the more emotionally strong you become, the softer you grow. Strength does not harden the heart, it steadies it. You become gentle not because you are weak, but because you are no longer threatened. You stop needing to prove, defend, or explain yourself to everyone. Silence becomes your confidence. Calm becomes your power. And slowly, others begin to feel safe around you, because emotional strength creates emotional safety. Remember, this strength is not built overnight. It is built choice by choice. One pause instead of reaction, one breath instead of explosion, one prayer instead of panic. You stay with this journey, you will soon discover how gratitude and responsibility become natural extensions of emotional strength. So remain here, Remain attentive, because what is unfolding next is not just self-improvement, it is self-mastery. And the most transformative realizations are still waiting for you ahead. Gratitude is not a polite habit reserved for good days. It is a sacred lens through which life reveals its hidden beauty, even on days that feel broken. Most suffering does not come from what we lack, but from overlooking what quietly supports us every moment. The breath that arrives without asking, the heartbeat that never demands appreciation, the countless blessings performing their duties in silence. Imagine walking through a garden at night with a candle. The light is small, yet wherever it moves, darkness retreats. Gratitude is that candle. It does not eliminate challenges, but it changes how they appear to you. Without gratitude, the mind becomes a courtroom where life is constantly on trial. With gratitude, the mind becomes a temple where even ordinary moments feel holy. Many people postpone gratitude, saying, "I'll be thankful when I succeed, when I heal, when life improves," not realizing that gratitude is not the reward of a good life, it is the root of one. Spiritually, gratitude is remembrance. Remembrance that you are supported, guided, and never truly alone. When you wake up grateful, even time seems to slow down. When you live ungrateful, even abundance feels insufficient. I once met a man who had everything he prayed for: career, comfort, recognition, yet peace remained absent because his mind was trained to see only what was missing. Gratitude retrains perception. It shifts focus from scarcity to sufficiency, from complaint to contentment, from entitlement to humility. This year, before asking life for more, thank life for what already is. Thank the lessons that shaped you, the delays that protected you, the disappointments that redirected you. Gratitude does not deny pain. It dignifies it by finding meaning within it. Even thorns teach the value of gentleness. Even storms teach the power of shelter. When gratitude deepens, comparison weakens. You stop measuring your life against others and start honoring the unique rhythm of your own journey. This is spiritual maturity. Gratitude softens the ego and strengthens the soul. It turns "why me" into "what is this teaching me?" And in that shift, peace quietly enters. If this reflection feels comforting, stay with me. The lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. There is a mystical secret hidden in gratitude. What you appreciate appreciates, not magically but psychologically and spiritually. When you value what you have, you take better care of it. When you take better care of it, it grows. Gratitude deepens relationships, heals resentment, and dissolves impatience. A grateful heart becomes a resting place for joy, not because life becomes perfect, but because the heart stops fighting reality. Begin simply. Thank before you eat, pause before you complain, acknowledge before you demand. Over time, gratitude becomes less of an action and more of a state of being. If you remain present for what comes next, you will see how responsibility and purpose naturally rise from a grateful heart. So do not drift away. What follows is the foundation of true empowerment, and the most life-altering realizations are still unfolding ahead. Responsibility is the moment life quietly hands you the keys and asks, "Are you ready to drive, or will you continue sitting in the passenger seat blaming the road?" Most people believe responsibility is heavy, but in truth, responsibility is liberation disguised as weight. Without responsibility, we feel protected from failure, yet we are also protected from growth. Taking responsibility does not mean everything is your fault, it means everything is your opportunity. Spiritually, responsibility is ownership of consciousness. It is the sacred shift from "why is this happening to me" to "what is this awakening within me?" Imagine a farmer blaming the soil, the rain, or the sun for a poor harvest, while never questioning his effort or timing. Nature does not negotiate with excuses, it responds only to action. In the same way, life responds not to intention alone, but to responsibility expressed through consistent effort. When you accept responsibility, you reclaim power that was scattered across blame, complaint, and expectation. Suddenly, you are no longer waiting for motivation, approval, or rescue. You become the source. This year, stop outsourcing your peace to circumstances and your happiness to outcomes. Responsibility is choosing to show up even when clarity is incomplete, to act even when confidence feels fragile, to begin even when perfection is absent. Many people confuse responsibility with control, but control tightens the heart while responsibility steadies it. Responsibility says, I may not control what happens, but I choose how I respond. That choice alone transforms chaos into curriculum. I once met someone who said, I am waiting for the right time, and I realized the right time was waiting for them. Responsibility teaches you that time respects commitment, not comfort. When you take responsibility for your habits, your words, your reactions, and your direction, life stops feeling random. Patterns emerge, lessons repeat until learned, and once learned, they release you forward. This is spiritual law. Responsibility also requires courage, the courage to face your own inconsistencies without self-hatred, to acknowledge mistakes without self-rejection, to correct direction without drowning in regret. A responsible person does not say, I failed, but says, I learned. That mindset alone shortens suffering and accelerates growth. Responsibility trains the soul to stand upright in uncertainty, to act without guarantee, to trust effort over outcome. And here is the hidden grace. When you take responsibility, you no longer fear judgment because you are already honest with yourself. If this idea feels confronting, stay with me. The lessons ahead are even more profound. Stay until the final points, or you may miss a glimpse of truth that can change everything. Responsibility also teaches boundaries, knowing what is yours to carry and what is not. You stop carrying the weight of others' expectations and start carrying the weight of your own values. This creates dignity. It creates inner order. Slowly, you realize that responsibility is not about burden, it is about alignment. When your actions align with your conscience, peace follows naturally. Begin with small acts of responsibility, waking up when you said you would, finishing what you start, choosing truth over convenience. These small acts accumulate into self-respect, and self-respect becomes unshakable confidence. Stay present, because the final lesson will reveal how responsibility transforms into purpose and how purpose turns ordinary effort into sacred contribution. Do not drift away now. The final realization is the crown of this entire journey. Purpose is the quiet compass placed inside every soul, pointing not toward success as the world defines it, but toward meaning as the heart recognizes it. Without purpose, life becomes a well-decorated room with no windows, comfortable, busy, yet strangely suffocating. People chase achievements, applause, and accumulation only to discover that fulfillment does not automatically arrive with success. It arrives with alignment. Purpose is alignment between who you are, what you do, and why you do it. Spiritually speaking, purpose is not something you invent. It is something you remember. It is the gentle pull you feel when an action feels right, even if it is difficult, when service feels lighter than selfish gain, when contribution feels more satisfying than consumption. Imagine an arrow shot without a target. It may travel far, but it will never arrive. Many people are exhausted not because they do too much, but because they do too much without meaning. Purpose gives direction to discipline, dignity to responsibility, depth to gratitude, and patience to suffering. When you know why you wake up, endurance becomes natural. Purpose does not demand certainty, it only asks for sincerity. You do not need to see the entire staircase, just take the next conscious step. I once met someone who said, "I don't know my purpose," and I replied, "Then begin where compassion naturally flows from you." Purpose reveals itself in motion. Purpose often whispers before it roars. It shows up as curiosity, concern, longing, or restlessness. Ignore it and it becomes frustration. Listen to it and it becomes direction. Spiritually mature people do not ask, "What will I get from life?" They ask, "What does life want to express through me?" That shift alone transforms ambition into service and effort into devotion. Purpose also carries you through seasons of doubt, because when outcomes disappoint, intention sustains. Even pain becomes meaningful when it serves growth beyond the self. And here is the mystical paradox. When you live with purpose, fear of failure decreases because failure no longer defines you, learning does. You stop asking for guarantees and start offering commitment. If this reflection is stirring something deep within you, stay present. The lessons you have absorbed lead to this very point, and missing this understanding would mean missing the heart of the journey. Purpose is not always grand or public. Sometimes it is quiet, consistent, and unseen. Raising with love, creating with honesty, serving with humility, living with integrity. When purpose is clear, comparison dissolves. You stop racing others and start honoring your own pace. Time stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a companion. And here is the sacred reminder. Purpose is nourished by connection. Connection to values, to people, to something higher than ego. Whether you call it God, truth, love, or consciousness, purpose grows when you remember you are part of something vast and meaningful. If you have stayed with this journey, know this: awareness woke you up, discipline strengthened you, company shaped you, emotional strength steadied you, gratitude softened you, responsibility empowered you, and purpose now unifies you. Remain here for a moment. Let this truth settle. Life is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be present, sincere, and useful. Walk forward with purpose, and even ordinary day S will begin to feel sacred. And let me leave you with a truth that is as ancient as it is alive. Life does not transform when circumstances change. It transforms when consciousness awakens. The world you experience is not happening to you. It is unfolding through the lens of your awareness. When you live unconsciously, life feels rushed, heavy, and random. When you live consciously, even ordinary moments glow with meaning. Awakening is not escaping the world. It is meeting the world fully present, fully responsible, and fully alive. So begin observing yourself today and see life unfold in ways you never imagined. Carry this awareness forward and let it touch others in silence and presence. Apply these insights now, because life waits for no one to awaken. Do not postpone transformation to a tomorrow that is never promised. The breath you take now is inviting you to live deliberately, lovingly, and truthfully. And remember, the final insights hold the deepest keys. Do not miss them. When awareness becomes your way of living, life itself becomes your teacher, your companion, and your sacred path forward.